Back here on SportsLine, I teased this a little bit earlier. The best story in college football right now is in Clarksville. It is the Austin Peay Governors, who up until 2 months ago had the longest losing streak in America at 29 consecutive games. They've now won 7 of their last 9. They only have 1 loss this year against the FCS, and that is to the number 2 team in the country in Jacksonville State. And if they win Saturday against Eastern Illinois, I think you have to have them in the FCS playoffs. Selection committee obviously has the final say there. It's a thick bubble this year. But to me, what they've done, if they go 8-1 against FCS teams and their only loss is to the number 2 team in the country, that to me says enough. But on top of that, the story of where they've come from to where they are now, you have to want that in your playoff field. So that's my push right now. Austin Peay belongs in if they can get a win this weekend. It is a massive game, probably the biggest game in school history. We're happy to welcome in the head coach of the Governors, Will Healy. Will, what's the mindset this week on campus? What's practice been like going into this game this weekend against Eastern Illinois?
Steve, you're hired. You are in charge of all playoff game pushes for us. The mindset has been unbelievable. Ever since we lost to Jacksonville State at home, I've tried to almost put a playoff type scenario to each game that we played. A little bit of a win or go home type feel and pressure, just because I wanted them to have that well before we ever got into the playoffs, and hopes that it would be this year, but hope that this will be something that this program will be able to talk about for a long time. So our kids have handled it very well. We put a lot of pressure on them all the way from the Morehead State game and breaking the streak. But it's been an unbelievable journey. It's been so much fun to see these kids have success and feel good about where they're playing college football and feel supported. And it's been the most fun I've ever had in coaching. And to me, it's not why you're in it, but it sure is fun to watch. The kids that we have in our program that have been through so much adversity, be able to, especially the seniors, to be able to enjoy the success we're having now.
Well, it is the ultimate underdog story for the losingest program in America to hire the wide receivers coach from Chattanooga, who happens to be the youngest coach in America at that point. Will, I got to ask, if you can take me back to that moment almost 2 years ago, what made you want to take this opportunity, which has sort of been a graveyard for coaches up to that point, and maybe better yet, what made you think you could walk in there and turn it around the way you have?
Well, after I got the job, I found out I think there was only one applicant for the job, but that would be. So, I was laughing earlier. I remember going into Marcus West, our co-defensive coordinator's office, when we were at Chattanooga, and I said, hey, would you be interested in going with me if I could find a way to get in on this Austin Peay job? And he looked at me like I had about 4 foreheads, and he said, absolutely not. And I remember going into Carter Crutchfield, our director of football ops at Chattanooga, and said, hey, I think I'm in on this Austin Peay job. Would you go with me if I got it? And I said, what do you think about it? He said, it's a graveyard for coaches. And 2 years later, Marcus and Carter are on year 2 of Wren in Clarksville, and have been a huge reason on why we've had the success here. I felt good about it for a couple of reasons. One, being a first-time head coach, which I should have never gotten this job. I was in no way, I didn't have enough experience. I didn't have enough credentials, and I'm sure there were some really good candidates because it's a Division I job, and there's only 250 of them across the country. But I felt really good about the resources that the administration would put behind it. It was kind of a difference in, all right, you know what, we need to make sure and put our money where our mouth is. We need to make sure and support this group, and whether it's assistant coach's salary, whether it's a football budget, whatever it may be, we need to do it the right way to give ourselves a shot in this league. And fell in love with Ryan Ivey. I think he and I have the same vision for how people need to be treated, how a program needs to be run. He's a young guy. He's 34 years old, and so I could relate to that youth and his passion and energy, and I felt like Dr. White, our president, was committed to being really good. I thought that, with that being said, I could go higher, right? And I recruited harder for the staff than I've ever recruited for a player in my life, and recruited against some really good programs, and tried to pickpocket some guys at some great places that have had a lot of success. Brought a lot of guys from Chattanooga with me, and when they left, everybody that was there mentoring the profession said, "I can't believe you're leaving Chattanooga to go to Austin Peay." But they believed in how we would do it, and the way we wanted to run things, and how we would be able to recruit, because we're in a great recruiting area. Obviously, we've had a lot of success in Nashville and in Clarksville in the mid-state area. The facilities, I think, are at a conference championship type level, and I felt like it was a community that would rally around the success of this football program. So all that with, there were no expectations. I mean, none. You're a first-time head coach. It's different than taking over a program that's won 6 straight conference titles and won 11-1 last season. I mean, you're a success story if you won a game, and so that made me feel like I had time to do it the right way with good kids, and it's been amazing to see how quickly it's happened. You
knew they were going to tear down the goalposts when you won the first game after losing 29 consecutive ones, but now you've won a bunch since then. How has the winning been different the more you've done it?
Well, that's a great question. For me, the expectations of not just not even just the administration or the school or whatever, but the community has totally changed. I mean, it went from, man, I think we're good enough this year to go win a game, to, hey, we got to get this last one where we can get in the NCAA playoffs. And it's not 4 years like that's happened at other places where I've been. It's 2 months.
Right.
And, and so that's been amazing. I think that's awesome, because I want there to be expectations about the success of Austin Peay football. But one thing that I've tried not to lose sight of, and I think a lot of times I've been in places and seen coaches that do, whether we won pretty, whether we won ugly, whether we finished strong, or whether we finished sloppy, I've tried to make sure that every locker room experience we have is something that those kids are dying to be able to experience again and enjoy a win, because it's hard to win football games in this league. We've got a great league with a lot of talent, a lot of really good coaches. And we went 0-11 a year ago, and let's not lose sight of where we came from. Let's not lose the chip on our shoulder that we got to continue to prove people wrong and make people believe. But let's enjoy a win, and let's make sure that nobody has more fun on Saturdays than we do.
I've seen some footage of some of those locker room celebrations. They're wild. I also saw you face plant basically at the goal line at Nissan Stadium, overcome by emotions when you knocked off Tennessee State on their homecoming on the way to winning the Sergeant York Trophy for the first time. How big was that for your team to get a trophy out of this season and beat the in-state rivals?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of hardware around here. We got a 1977 OVC championship trophy, and then now the Sergeant York Trophy, so it's a big deal. And for me that week, there were a lot of things that I thought our kids overcame with. We had a couple kids that had some stuff going on in their family, and and then being able to come from behind. And it was almost the exact opposite of what had happened to us a year before when we played them. And just to see how we handled a new situation and how resilient our kids were, and it was a special day. The win was awesome. There's no doubt about it. Beating them on their homecoming was great. There's no doubt. But to me, the stuff that went on behind the scenes and how our kids were able to bond together and play an unbelievable game and come back and have the confidence to, put a 2-minute drive together and then go stop them with, almost the exact same situation we had a year ago, and we had given up a touchdown and lost by a point. I mean, our kids just didn't feel like there was any chance that they would lose, and fun to see your program grow even over the course of a game.
And speaking of the confidence that you can do that in a pressure situation, last weekend against Eastern Kentucky, to be down the way you were and to rally back, was it 17 unanswered points to close the game? Where did that come from this team?
Well, I knew how talented Eastern Kentucky was, and I felt like it was really important to start fast they hadn't won as many games as probably what they feel like they should have, but they have talent everywhere. And I knew it was important to get off that fast start, because if we gave them confidence and they got rolling, they're very difficult to stop. And, we're down 17 points in the third quarter, and they score with about 3 seconds to go right before half. So we have no momentum going into halftime, and then we come out and in my coaching philosophy, we went for a fourth down, a fake punt on our own 40-yard line and got stopped. So it was a terrible call on my part, and put our defense in a really bad situation. They had a first and 10 on the 30-yard line going in. We hold them to a field goal, so we're down 24-7 with 10 minutes to go in the third quarter, and no panic. Jeremiah throws a great ball to Kyron Moore, and we make it 24-14. And it was amazing, the difference in the two sidelines. It was kind of like we woke up, and it was kind of like, oh my goodness, they woke up from the other sideline. And played great, held them to 65 yards of total offense in the second half, and we scored 24 unanswered points and came up with this huge road win. I mean, for us, it's the first time. How about this? First time Austin Peay's won in Richmond, Kentucky since 1977.
Yep.
We'd lost 45 of the last 49 games versus Eastern Kentucky. So you and I have talked plenty of times. I mean, the streaks that have been broken this year have been unheard of, and hopefully will never ever happen again here again. So it's been fun for our guys to knock down those doors, and they've taken a lot of pride in being able to do it.
You're breaking a lot of streaks. You're setting a lot of marks this year, and hopefully on Saturday you're going to set an attendance mark for Eastern Illinois and get a win and get into the playoffs. Will Healy, congratulations on a remarkable turnaround this weekend. We'll be watching, or this year we'll be watching this weekend.
You've been awesome, man. I'm telling you, I can't. I remember sitting in the studio with you when Jeremiah signed and just talking about how far this program's got to go. You've been very supportive, and I really appreciate you. So thanks for the time, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
You bet. Thanks, Will. And I can tell you, I think everybody in Clarksville would say that he's been awesome with the turnaround job that they have done up there. We got to take a break. When we come back, Austin Price from VolQuest talk about the situation on Rocky Top.